Once there was a farmer. He planted his fields with care. But when harvest season came, strangers arrived. They brought trucks, took the grain, and left him only dust. For years he watched, until one day he stood up and said, "This soil is mine, and so is the harvest." Today that farmer's story is no longer a parable. It's the story of a nation, and the man leading it is no longer anonymous. He is Traoré, the Burkina Faso president who's turning red soil into resistance, into riches, into revolution. In a move that shook the continent, he announced the creation of Africa's largest public mining company. Coal, gold, ownership, no middlemen, no permission from Paris or Washington. Just a nation reclaiming what was always its own. And for the first time in generations, Africa isn't just being mined, it's mining for itself. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear isn't just news. It's a blueprint for African rebirth. Subscribe and rise with us for an Africa that harvests what it grows. When President Traoré stood before the people of Burkina Faso and announced the creation of a national mining company, the world barely blinked. But in Africa, in its deepest veins and most forgotten corners, a quiet roar began to grow. Because this wasn't just about mining. This was about memory. This was about ownership. This was about rewriting the rules. For too long, gold and coal flowed out of Burkina Faso into Swiss banks, Parisian jewelry stores, and Wall Street portfolios. And what was left behind? Empty pits, poisoned rivers, poor villages, broken promises. But now the land speaks back, and it speaks through a company owned by the people. This new entity, state-funded, sovereign, and shielded from foreign interference, is not just another bureaucratic tool. It's a declaration, a line in the sand, a flag in the soil. It will not simply dig, it will hire, it will train, it will build. Engineers, surveyors, environmental scientists, machine operators, data analysts, young Africans trained in their own country, employed by their own government to mine their own wealth. And the model is radical in its simplicity. No foreign ownership, full state transparency, profits reinvested directly into healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Oversight by citizen councils, not foreign investors. The Burkina Faso president made it clear, we are not building a company, we are building a future. And for the first time, the people believe it. In Ouagadougou, chants echoed, "This gold is ours." In Bobo Dioulasso, murals appeared of miners raising the national flag. In rural provinces, elders whispered, "We never thought we'd live to see this day." Because this is not just about money, it's about dignity. A country once laughed at for its poverty is now being studied for its sovereignty. Young people who once dreamed of escaping now dream of engineering degrees. Families who once begged for foreign aid now invest in national bonds tied to the company's success. And the world, slow to respond, is beginning to realize. This isn't a gesture, it's a strategy, and it's working. Burkina Faso is not asking for help, it is demanding respect. It is not waiting for permission, it is taking initiative. And it is doing so with one message carved into every machine, every worker's helmet, every policy. This is ours, and we are ready. In the dusty heartlands of Burkina Faso, a convoy of steel giants rolled in. Machines unlike anything the country had ever seen. Towering excavators known as bucket wheel giants, capable of extracting coal and minerals at a scale once thought unimaginable for this small West African nation. But this was not an invasion. This was invitation on Burkinabe terms. Yes, China is here, but it is not here to rule. It is here to cooperate under a very different kind of agreement. For decades, African leaders signed contracts in secrecy. Resources were traded for short-term loans. Foreign companies arrived with promises and left with everything, leaving only rust and regret. But under Ibrahim Traoré Burkina Faso, the deal is different. Every machine, every engineer, every technical document arriving from China comes with strict conditions. Burkina Faso retains ownership of all extracted resources. All financial records are made public. Chinese technicians must train local operators, not just replace them. Every machine must be accompanied by schematics and manuals for local replication. This is not neo-colonialism with a red flag. This is post-colonial realism with African control. President Traoré made it clear during a national address, "We welcome partnership, but we will not kneel to anyone. We are not for sale." In practice, this means co-ownership of knowledge, not just commodities. Chinese engineers lead workshops with Burkina apprentices. Joint research labs are being built to study resource refinement and alternative energy. University students in Ouagadougou now intern at active mining sites, learning machine diagnostics and advanced logistics systems. And the message is clear. We don't just want your machines. We want to know how to build them. This is not the model that debt-trapped Zambia. This is not the model that extracted cobalt in silence from the Congo. This is a model designed in Burkina Faso by Burkina mines for Burkina benefit. Skeptics in the West call it naive. Some Western analysts warn of a new form of dependence, but the numbers and the people tell another story. In just 6 months, mining output has nearly doubled. Training centers report a surge in enrollment, and in focus groups across the country, 88% of citizens surveyed said they trust the national mining strategy under Traoré. Because this isn't just about who's in the deal, it's about who controls the terms. And for the first time, those terms are being written not in Beijing, not in Paris, not in Washington, but in Ouagadougou, the site of a Burkina teenager climbing into a $1 million excavator, helmet firm, eyes focused, is more than a photo opportunity. It's a symbol that the days of asking have ended. The days of building have begun. And in every engine that roars, every coal cart that rolls, every gold vein uncovered, the message rings louder. We are not beggars, we are builders. In the corridors of power, they used to laugh. They said Burkina Faso was too small, too poor, too chaotic to manage its own resources. They said, let them chase scraps. The real gold is ours. But now the numbers are speaking louder than the critics. In 2024, Burkina Faso's state-run mines produced 8 metric tons of gold, a respectable figure considering the nation's industrial infancy. But in just the first 3 months of 2020, they have already extracted 11 metric tons, surpassing last year's total in 1 quarter. This isn't a statistical fluke. It's a revolution in scale and ambition. One engineer described the shift bluntly. We used to catch mice, now we're hunting elephants. Why the sudden leap? Because the machinery is no longer outdated. The planning is no longer outsourced. The strategy is no longer foreign. Under President Traoré's direction, the new mining company has launched a 3-pronged strategy, mechanized with precision, using top-tier bucket wheel excavators to increase volume while reducing waste. Survey with satellites, partnering with local universities to use drones and satellite imaging to detect previously overlooked veins. Refine at home, establishing on-site gold refinement labs to reduce export loss and maximize value. Coal extraction has also surged, powering regional electricity grids and reducing reliance on imported fuel. Mines once dormant are now humming with disciplined, efficient energy, and the people feel it. Hospitals in Kaya are receiving funding from mineral profits. Schools in Gawa are being rebuilt. Solar panels are being installed in villages once forgotten. This isn't theory, this is transformation. What once took a year now takes a quarter. What once funded foreign luxury now builds African futures. What once disappeared into offshore accounts now pays local nurses and teachers. And Traoré isn't just chasing numbers, he's chasing sovereignty. Because mining without refinement is poverty. Mining without ownership is servitude. But mining with control, with intention, is power. A new slogan is catching on across the country. We don't dig to export, we dig to rise. It's printed on helmets, etched into banners, painted on classroom walls. Because for the first time, the earth beneath Burkina Faso's feet is not being drained. It's being claimed. And in the face of this rise, foreign firms are nervous. Contracts are being scrutinized. Old mining licenses are under review. The days of quiet extraction are over. Burkina Faso is sending a message to every foreign investor, every multinational miner, every government watching from afar. If you want to mine here, you mine with us, not above us. And that message is being written in tons of gold, in tons of coal, in megawatts of local energy. This is not just about economics. It's about evidence. It's about showing that when Africans control their resources, miracles become metrics. For decades, the dream of the Burkinabe youth was simple. Leave. Leave for Europe. Leave for America. Leave for anywhere but here. Because here there was nothing. No jobs, no training, no hope. But now a quiet revolution is unfolding. Not on television screens, not in political speeches, but in workshop floors, mine shafts, and vocational classrooms. Thanks to the National Mining Initiative, tens of thousands of jobs have been created, not just in digging, but in designing, repairing, managing, and innovating. In Tenkodogo, a young man named Soliman proudly leads a maintenance team for high-capacity excavators. 2 years ago, he was preparing to risk his life across the Mediterranean. Today, he earns a steady wage, trains younger recruits, and sends his siblings to school. He said, "I used to run from my country. Now I run toward it." This is the impact of investment done right. New technical schools have opened, offering diplomas in mining logistics, geology, equipment calibration, and environmental engineering. These are not abstract degrees. They are applied tools for national growth. And it's not just about the mines. The ripple effects touch every sector. Logistics companies booming with increased freight demands, construction firms expanding to build worker housing and local infrastructure, food vendors thriving around industrial zones, women-led cooperatives managing canteens, sanitation, and supply chains. One mining engineer joked, "Our goal doesn't just build schools, it builds chefs, drivers, mechanics, accountants, and perhaps most powerful of all, young people believe in staying." A government survey showed a 37% drop in attempted migration among males aged 18-30 in mining regions. Because now, the horizon is not in Paris, it's in Ouagadougou. President Traoré addressed the youth directly in a national broadcast. "We don't want you to leave. We want you to lead. This land is yours to shape." And they heard him. In classrooms across Burkina Faso, students recite a new pledge at the end of each week. "My hands will build this country." It's painted on classroom walls. It's stitched onto overalls. It's etched in the eyes of a generation that no longer runs. Because work is dignity, training is protection, staying is power. This is not a welfare program. This is not a publicity stunt. This is nation building through employment. And as other African nations watch, they're asking, what if we trained our own too? What if migration wasn't the only future we offered our youth? Because what Burkina Faso is proving is that a pickaxe in the right hands can be mightier than a passport. And when young people are given the tools to build their homeland, they don't burn boats, they build bridges. From mine shafts to training halls, from lunchrooms to laboratories, one truth echoes louder than ever. Africa doesn't lack talent, it only lacked investment. Until now. When Burkina Faso declared its intent to mine its own gold, many called it symbolic. When it began exporting refined minerals on its own terms, others said it was temporary. But now as the numbers rise and the people stay, Africa is watching, and some are following. In Ghana, parliamentary members have begun reevaluating contracts with foreign mining companies. In Nigeria, student unions are pushing for national control over lithium and oil reserves. In Guinea, the president cited Burkina Faso's model as a reference for upcoming reforms. And in the hearts of African youth, from Addis Ababa to Accra, a question is rising. If they can do it, why not us? No one expected this. Not the analysts in London, not the consultants in Washington, not even the elites in Africa who built careers on dependence. But Traoré, the Ibrahim Traoré Burkina Faso, they once dismissed as too young, too radical, too temporary, is no longer an anomaly. He's becoming a model. Newspapers across the continent now refer to him as the rooster who woke the village, and the village is stirring. In town halls in Togo, youth debate resource sovereignty. In WhatsApp groups across Senegal, Traoré's speeches circulate as gospel. On street murals in Kinshasa, artists paint golden maps of Africa, breaking their chains. This is not a cult of personality. This is a culture of possibility. What began in one country has become a continental whisper, building toward a storm. And that storm speaks in many tongues. In Swahili, Tujeng wenyewe, let's build it ourselves. In Zulu, Ubuhosi Buvela Ebentwini, power comes from the people. In Moray, Lafi Lafi Fasola Tabo, peace and dignity, Burkina is standing. Even the Burkina Faso president himself has been surprised by the resonance. He said in a recent address, "We did not set out to lead Africa. We set out to serve Burkina Faso. But if our service inspires others, then we walk together." And they are walking. Regional alliances are discussing common mining standards. Universities are sharing research across borders. Civic groups are publishing guides titled, "How to Nationalize with Integrity." This is the new Pan-Africanism, not made of slogans, but of systems. And for the diaspora, watching from Atlanta, from Paris, from Kingston, it means something deeper. It means the Africa they were told to forget is rising without apology. One Ghanaian woman in New York said it best, "My grandparents were colonized, my parents compromised, but maybe, just maybe, my children will reclaim." Because Burkina Faso didn't just launch a company, it launched a signal, a warning to exploiters, a promise to the poor, a challenge to the status quo. And that signal is traveling on phone screens, in classrooms, in boardrooms, and border towns. It says Africa is no longer asleep, and our gold, our hands, our hope will no longer be exported. This is what a new beginning looks like. Not announced with fireworks, but with focus. Burkina Faso did not wake up one morning rich. It woke up ready to claim what it had long been told belonged to others, ready to build not just roads and refineries, but respect, through machines powered by knowledge, through gold refined by will, through coal hauled by local hands. A nation has begun to rewrite the script of Africa. And at the center stands one man, not a savior, not a celebrity, but a president with soil on his boots and the future in his voice. Ibrahim Traoré Burkina Faso. He reminds us that greatness isn't imported. It is inherited when people dare to remember who they are. So now the question is no longer, can Burkina Faso rise? It already is. The question is, will others rise with it? Will Ghana reclaim its cocoa? Will Congo refine its cobalt? Will Africa finally decide that its wealth is not for sale, but for its people? If this story made you stand up straighter, don't scroll past. Like, share, subscribe, because it's time we stopped watching Africa get robbed. It's time to take back what's ours. Drop your comment if you feel it. Rise for Africa, mine for the people. Traoré leads, Africa owns itself. No more chains, because the mine is no longer underground. The treasure is no longer stolen, and the future is no longer waiting.